From BBC Learning English, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines.
In this programme, former Bangladeshi Prime Minister sentenced to death.
Hello, I'm Georgie.
And I'm Phil.
In this programme, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode, as well as a worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
So let's hear more about this story.
Former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has been sentenced to death by a court in Dhaka for crimes against humanity.
Last July, she ordered a crackdown on student protests, which resulted in the deaths of up to 1,400 people, according to the UN.
As a result of the protests, Hasina escaped to India, where she still is. An interim government took power in Bangladesh.
Hasina had also been accused of a number of human rights violations while she was still in power.
Let's have our first headline, and this is from The Guardian, a British newspaper. Ousted Bangladesh PM Sheikh Hasina sentenced to death for crimes against humanity.
And that headline again, ousted Bangladesh PM Sheikh Hasina sentenced to death for crimes against humanity. And that is from The Guardian in the UK.
This headline is about Hasina's sentence. It describes her as an ousted leader, which means she was forced out of power. An expression that we are going to learn is crimes against humanity.
Yes, crimes against humanity are crimes that are committed against a large number of civilians, and they include acts such as murder, torture, and enslavement. That's making people slaves.
In this case, the court in Bangladesh considered that the use of military force against civilian protesters was a crime against humanity.
Crimes against humanity are often looked at as part of international law. They are different to war crimes in that the victims are civilians, and also that crimes against humanity can be committed by governments against their own citizens.
And this is an expression that we hear a lot related to civil war, uprisings, and authoritarian governments.
We've had crimes against humanity, crimes committed against a large number of civilians.
For example, the United Nations investigated crimes against humanity committed in Rwanda during the 1990s.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. We're talking about the trial in Bangladesh that found former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced her to death.
Hasina is currently living in exile in India.
She and her family have spoken out against the trial process.
And that's what our next headline is about. And this is from NDTV, which is an Indian TV channel. Unelected illegal regime's sham of a verdict. Sheikh Hasina's son to NDTV.
And that headline again from NDTV, an Indian TV channel. Unelected illegal regime's sham of a verdict. Sheikh Hasina's son to NDTV.
So, this headline talks about a comment from Sheikh Hasina's son, and we're going to learn the word sham.
Yes, sham is often used to say that something is false, not real, or a fraud.
It's being used in this story because Sheikh Hasina's son wants to say that he doesn't believe that the court has the right to make this judgment.
Sham can be used as a noun, as in this headline, but it can also be used as an adjective before another noun, for example, a sham verdict.
It's often used in a political context like this. People may talk about sham elections if they don't think they were fair or real.
And another context where it's very common, and we hear it a lot, is to talk about a sham marriage or a sham wedding. So that's a marriage where people get married to get a legal advantage rather than because they love each other.
We've had sham. That's something false or fraudulent.
For example, the board's statement is just a sham. None of it can be true.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today, we've been talking about the death sentence passed on former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
And here's our next headline. This one is from The Conversation, which is a British current affairs website. Bangladesh signals that no leader is above the law by sentencing Sheikh Hasina to death.
And that headline again, Bangladesh signals that no leader is above the law by sentencing Sheikh Hasina to death. And that's from The Conversation, a British current affairs website.
And the next expression we're going to learn is above the law.
Yes, the idea of someone being above the law is that someone is so important or powerful that laws effectively do not apply to them.
Leaders in authoritarian systems can often be, or seem to be, above the law if they do not respect the laws that apply to other people.
The writer of this article is pleased that Sheikh Hasina has been convicted by the Bangladeshi justice system, that she is not above the law.
As in this headline, we often use this phrase in the negative. If we talk about a powerful person being judged by a court, we might say that no one is above the law.
And it can also be used as a warning. Do not think that you're above the law.
We've had above the law, too important or powerful to be affected by laws.
For example, the company's CEO thought he'd never get caught for tax evasion, but no one's above the law.
That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
For a simple explanation of crimes against humanity, have a look at our international law video series, which you can find on our website.
And if you want to practice what you've learnt and see more example sentences, try our free worksheet, also on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. You'll find us at BBC Learning English on your favourite platform.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.